Back on Wednesday, Governor Ron DeSantis releases long-awaited proposal on property taxes, but his proposal falls far short of his promises. Under his proposal, the homestead exemption would increase from $50,000 to $150,000 in 2027, and then from $150,000 to $250,000 in 2028. It would then allow the legislature to increase the homestead exemption in future years. Critics argue his plan will decimate cities, counties, and local school districts. The legislature will meet in a special session starting on Monday, and if they pass it, it will then have to be approved by 60% of all voters in November. After the plan came out, I spoke to former Republican State Senator Jeff Brandes, who now leads the Florida Policy Project.
None of this is being presented with any data. None of this is being presented with any analysis on county impact, city by city impact. What happens in the trust fund? What happens if there's a recession? What happens if housing values don't stay where they are? And then who gets hurt, right? Renters get nothing out of this. And if they jack up sales tax and water and other fees, they get harmed. So I think, somebody's ox is getting gored here. We need to spend some time, figure this out. And the fact that you're going to put this out on a Wednesday and vote on it on a Monday, to me is just beyond the pale. Like this is just not how you do business in Tallahassee. I think it's pretty shocking. And I can't imagine that the House and Senate are going to just take this full on. I think once cities and counties figure out what's going on here and figure out what this really means and how much control they're losing to Tallahassee and the central government planning that's about to occur here, I think they're going to lose their minds.
Because what it does is it transfers the authority, which is right now, if you want to change property taxes, you have to do it through a constitutional
amendment. Go to the constitutional amendment. That's correct.
And it transfers it now, basically the legislature.
It basically moves it to a Tallahassee, right? And it exposes a ton of unanswered questions, right? Many of these cities and counties have bonded revenue. They've bonded their tax going forward, in order to pay for police departments and fire departments. That's what happens with that. Does it begin to affect the credit rating of cities and counties? How are the smaller cities and counties going to handle this? The ones that are predominantly homestead properties and not a lot of commercial land. These are kind of unanswered questions. Frankly, this is like the most Bush League rollout I have ever seen of a major proposal.
It's interesting. If you go back and think about the way Governor DeSantis talked about this more than a year ago, I'm going to eliminate property taxes. We can just eliminate property taxes. And then I think, and you and I have had this discussion before, I think as he got into it, it's easy rhetoric. It's an easy bumper sticker. I will eliminate all property taxes. But I think the governor faced the reality that it's not so easy. And this was the best he could come up with, as you describe it, a plan to create a plan.
Well, we saw this last year. Look, he last year vetoed the $1 million the legislature gave him to come up and study this, to come up with a real plan, to look at all of these different issues. And he vetoed that. And so I think what he's left with is this, the best I can do is punt, and I'm trying to pass something. So let's just give the legislature some flexibility and see what happens in the future. This is totally a 90-degree shift. This is a curveball from what he's been throwing all year long. And at the end of the day, what they've rolled out is not, it's so uncertain. It's hard to imagine my colleagues in the legislature aren't going to pick this thing apart.
We'll see what the legislature does next week. CBS Miami's Joan Murray will be in Tallahassee to cover the special session. Look for her reports starting on Monday.